Hi there and welcome back. After a rocky release, well, probably the worst release of any game in history, DICE has been working there of trying to make it come back with Battlefield 2042. We're now in the early days of Season 3 Escalation, and well, how are things? Like really, like honestly. It's been more than a full year of constant patching of fixing, duct tape and glue, so is it worth your time? Or is this really a dead end for the Battlefield franchise? Before I even get any further, you know you can play Battlefield 2042 for free, right? No? Well, hang in there and I'll tell you more about it. But first, I'll go through why I firmly believe it's worth giving Battlefield 2042 a go, apart from being free to play. There have been many major flaws of Battlefield 2042, but the bad performance has been a serious contender for the worst enemy of the game, and within the game as well. It's not only limited to PC or console, it has just generally been really bad performance. Drops in FPS, while hardware isn't utilized, lack of hit regs, servers struggling badly, and let's not get started with the freaking season badges that didn't count. DICE has acknowledged and worked with pretty much every performance sector that I just mentioned, and some more. Because the game was in such a poor state at the beginning, the insane players that kept bashing their heads against the wall for the entire winter and spring have always been able to see improvements. But that doesn't really help when you download the game for the first time and run into a brick of 30 FPS while your extremely expensive gaming PC keeps farting warm air and GPU and CPU only works at 20% of the capacity. But we are now in Season 3 and for a lot of PC players things have finally started to rock. For quite some time the CPU looked like a bottleneck for me despite being a not so shabby Ryzen 7 5800X. Don't worry if you have no interest in PC hardware, let's just call it a high-end gaming PC, although there are worse for sure. DICE also seems to prefer Intel performance-wise, but that's a different story that I ignore for now. The point that I'm unable to make is that in Season 3 my CPU suddenly started to work and the CPU performance within the game were more than double at start of Season 3. Not too bad. And others have also seen big boosts in performance, mainly high-end gaming PCs though. All in all, things are looking brighter when it comes to game performance, both locally and on whatever system you run, but also looking at server performance and achievement systems. Just keep your fingers crossed that you aren't in the unlucky pot of players that got extreme stuttering. If you do, please don't invest any money in lottery tickets or such because you seem to have extremely bad luck. A common complaint about Battlefield 2042 is the lack of content, and then follows a long comparison of the Battlefield 4 life cycle after the turnaround, and some shoutouts about wanting Battlefield 4 remastered, etc. I have a newsflash for you. Battlefield 4 is still very much available and it still looks very well today. There is an active player base and it works on a modern environment, so if you just want Battlefield 4 remastered, well, stop waiting, just get in there and play. There's no need for a remake, it's still a modern game well ahead of many competitors. Or you have unlocked everything already and you're tired of the maps. But then you obviously don't want a remake because you want new stuff, and here you go, have a 2042. DICE proudly presents that today Battlefield 2042 has 15 plus maps, including 4 reworked. I think we could conclude that the original 2042 maps weren't very hard. However, except El Alamein, which is mainly a fiesta for elderly men and women that were old enough to own a good gaming PC 2 decades ago, the Portal maps are really interesting. Add the new maps added after release, Exposure, Stranded and Spearhead, along with the reworked maps Kaleidoscope, Renewal and Orbital, things are actually looking pretty well. Now all we need is a good map rotation so you don't get stuck as defender for 5 rounds in a row on Renewal. Incoming in December is the reworked Container Madness in Manifest, and early next year comes the biggest rework yet in an ambitious attempt to reshaping Breakaway into a map that is actually fun. It's not only the repeated command post that pops up on all remade and new maps, it's a bit of different thinking in the design altogether, where DICE actually listened in feedback and together with time it turned out to be a recipe for success. Currently, there are more than 100 weapons and gadgets, much thanks to the addition of bolt weapons into normal 2042 gameplay. There are more than 40 vehicles, and I'm pretty sure this includes all the in-world jeeps, quad bikes and tuk-tuks. But still, the vehicle pool has grown into something more interesting, and since DICE has been constantly working with balance, added special vehicle experience to highlight the portal modes from time to time, I'm confident this will continue to improve as well. The comeback of classes should make the balancing act a bit easier as well, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Even with classes coming back soon, they are still based on specialists with various unique skills. There are currently 13 specialists, and together with different skins, this is actually turning into a varied experience. At the beginning, when the numbers of specialists wasn't that high and no one had any cool or ugly skins, everyone looked the same. Finally, DICE is happy to announce 6 game modes, and this comes down to how you count. So currently you can always play Conquest, Breakthrough, Rush and 2 more highlighted portal modes and Hazard Zone. This is kind of 5 game modes, isn't it? Or it could be an infinite range of game modes because Portal is really flexible. To add to the experience, Conquest and Breakthrough usually have 2 different map rotations, and Conquest is usually either 64 or 128 players. Bloody hell, I forgot my tea, it's gone all cold. Winding back the clock a bit, after hiring several flush trucks to get rid of all the players threw at DICE in the beginning, DICE came up with the idea to set up 2 tracks of core feedback. One for maps, which has resulted in a bunch of reworked maps so far, as well as a shift in how new maps are constructed. The other is for specialists, with the main focus of reintroducing the class system. Well, that was at least the outcome of it. That is of course not all of it. DICE is using the core feedback to shape how the class system is going to work, as well as inviting players for on-site tests and feedback. And pretty much doing all the things you would normally expect from a AAA game. I understand that many of these activities suffered a fair bit during the pandemic, but I also think the Battlefield community is very divided in the matter. Anyhow, the class system is going to make a comeback, and DICE has taken the time to really shape it into something that, hopefully, doesn't create new floods of brown. The specialists are divided into 4 well-known classes: Assault, Medic, Engineer and Recon. Each class will most likely have a specific class equipment that is unique for the particular class and always available. There will then be a class gadget, where you can pick and choose what you want from a pool specific to each class. Some gadgets may be available in multiple pools. Finally, there are throwables, which at least for now looks to be almost the same pool for all classes. Assault can carry concussion nades instead of EMP nades, but otherwise it looks the same for all. In the current iteration, or the latest one we have heard, the idea is that all specialists will be able to equip any primary and secondary weapon without limitations. Instead, the approach is to make certain weapons more proficient for each class, trying to ensure that, for instance, Recon has a buff when using sniper rifles. This allows players to still have a lot of freedom in their choices while making sort of a golden path for each class. Alright, I need to make more tea, so let's get on to the point that I believe a lot of you have been waiting for: free to play. Oh yeah, it wasn't a clickbait or a meme, it's actually really happening, but only for a limited period of time. Come on, did you expect EA to just release it as free to play for all future? Anyhow, there are a couple of different schedules to keep in mind depending on which platform you prefer. If you are a PC player, you will be able to join for free on Steam starting 1st of December 10 AM along the 5th of December 10 AM. All times are Pacific. If you prefer legitimate aimbot and use Xbox, you can join for free starting 1st of December 12:01 AM. But since you are considered a bit filthy, you are only allowed to play until the 4th of December 11:59 PM. Jokes aside, I have no clue why the difference in time, all times are still Pacific. Finally, if you have PlayStation, you can join for free starting the 16th of December at 8 AM along to the 23rd of December 8 AM. All times are Pacific here as well. Honestly, if you don't already own the game, you shouldn't join. I mean, since it's free, there is little reason not to, except that I believe there is a real chance that you get hooked, which of course would force you to buy it eventually. On that bombshell, that you might enjoy the game, it's time for me to get hot tea. Cheers!